Before we end this video, I just want to set the scene for anyone who doesn't know the backstory. So me and Amy are ex-partners that broke up 2 years ago, and we came back together and had a settling of differences to take ownership of everything we did in our relationship. And this was one of the many conversations we had to bring peace as two friends now. So we discussed how semaglutide helped us through this situation and how we feel much happier in our life having implemented it. So that's this video. Enjoy.
Are you recording it?
It's recording now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is so weird.
It's like the police, just not strict. I don't even know how to start this. Start it.
I don't know.
Am I saying it's like a podcast?
Semaglutide is more than just losing weight, isn't it? It's more than that, as we've established. That's what we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, but then this is the first of many long-form interviews with people.
Yeah.
That I want to discuss topics on.
Yeah.
And I think these topics that most people are not talking about properly.
Well, 'cause it's really brand new.
And yeah, but then the other stuff we're talking about, and then having an actual conversation. A lot of people don't have a conversation sat across from each other at the table.
No.
Looking people in the eye.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's very different when you do this compared to sitting in the car and other stuff.
Yeah, but we talk face to face all the time, so this is no different for me.
We do, but then we don't sit like face to face like this as often.
Well, no, we haven't done that for a while, but it's no different to normally speaking.
Should we say the fact of our current situation?
With what?
Well, the fact that we've come back together after 2 years apart
Yeah.
to now have let the dust settle enough
Yeah.
that we can actually discuss things properly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we should have done that conversation on camera. Shouldn't we? That would have been a good video, I guess. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that?
What about?
Letting the dust, like, the rekindling and all that now?
I feel a hell of a lot more peace now. We're
Same.
actually both gained emotional maturity to enough so we can have a conversation.
Mm.
And actually had a conversation, not a shouting match or an argument like most people have.
Yeah, we haven't done that for a long time.
No, because it solves absolutely nothing. And instead we came back together, sat and talked sort of stuff, got upset.
Very upset.
Very
Before
upset.
we went out. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done my makeup.
Yeah, which it wasn't just stuff with us. This was stuff that there's other influences there that we potentially will cover later in the conversation. But then we've both been through a hell of a lot and two different situations.
I think me more than you, but we won't go there yet.
Yeah, in terms of negative, yeah, I would agree that. Which wasn't anything to do with us. It
That
was
was
again
his life.
outside.
That
Yeah.
was his life, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then coming back together, like, it was upsetting to hear a lot of the stuff and hear what you'd been through. And then as we sort of went through the night, we went deeper and deeper. And it was well
I
emotional.
think it took a few more than a night for you to really understand it. I think it's been almost little breadcrumbs, if that makes sense. I think it was a week later when we had that conversation and I said something and then you were in the car or something and you said, "Oh my God, I just didn't realise." Like it was only a week later after that conversation, do you remember?
Is it? But then stuff like that, so much happened, it's hard to get the detail. To see the details in properly. But I think with everything that happened, sort of New Year's Eve, we were fucking emotional. We were well emotional.
I think we've not spent time together before. I mean,
No.
we went for dinner in the Turkish restaurant the year before. I think last year was the first year. It's been 2 years.
We didn't speak for a full year,
Wow.
which is weird.
Even though probably a lot of people thought that we did, but we didn't.
No, but then we were sat in the same house. And that's why it's like, okay, this is confusing in some ways. But then
It's confusing for me.
it's confusing both of us. The fact that you then leaving, I don't know, it's weird because I don't really know how to take it sometimes. I'm like,
With me?
yeah, because at first I was like, oh my God, you're leaving. When you told me, I was like, fuck. And then I questioned my life and I was like, am I doing enough? Am I on the right path? And then since we've then seen each other more, I just feel like it's not a goodbye. Like we reconnected again on a dating app. So,
Well, we met
twice
on,
now.
No, we met on Tinder and then
Yeah. We reconnected on dating app.
and then it was Hinge the second time.
I thought you were actually being a dick, by the way.
Why?
Because
I said hi.
You said the laughing
emoji.
emoji.
Fuck off.
No, but then like all the stuff. So because of bearing in mind when we stopped speaking, you were so angry, and I thought.
But you had no idea what was going on. You had
No.
no idea.
No, I
You
didn't.
just thought I was being a dickhead.
Yeah, but you were angry for a while and get progressively more angry.
Well, you did get with someone that you were friends with the whole time, but we won't go into it. But anyway.
You were already angry. You were already
But
angry.
there
You
was
just
a lot- there was
exploded at that
There was a
point.
lot of anger though. There was a lot.
You repeated the same message in capitals.
But you're a dick.
No, it was like, are you taking the fucking piss? Are you taking the fucking piss? In capitals twice. I was like,
Because you were taking the piss a lot.
I actually wasn't.
You actually was.
I went on a serious note. I actually went to Ibiza because I was in a bad place. But I needed to go to Ibiza for me because it was the first thing done for me. You were so volatile. If I told you, you would have exploded. It's like, I can't really win because then I can't not help you because then you have a meltdown. And I'm just like, I just need to go to Ibiza because it's the one thing for me that I was going to do.
It doesn't matter anyway. It's been and gone. So.
Yeah, and I mean, a big part of stuff with you was everything's happened. And like I said, when you then came back into my life, I was treading on eggshells thinking you were still like you were. Until I saw you on New Year's Eve, I didn't realise that you actually calmed down.
A lot.
Yeah, because I thought you still. So I was like your responses to stuff. I was like reading text messages, especially in the way you used to speak.
No,
like
but that's your judgment. That's just things that needed to be said out loud.
I didn't know that, so I was still.
I'm not. Am I the same girl as you?
No.
I left you in February 2000, whatever it was,
2021.
21. No, I'm not.
No, you're more like the girl I met in 2018.
I am the girl that you met.
You're not the same. You're different, but then not in a bad way.
Yeah, no.
And I think that from everything you've gone through, you now have become a stronger person.
Oh yeah, I am. So we're going to talk about the semaglutide because obviously I came to you after not seeing you for probably over 12 months. It's definitely about 18 months, isn't it? From when we had the meal at the Turkish restaurant. Obviously got really poorly and put on 2 stone. And then the semaglutide, obviously in the news anyway, and I'd heard about it before, plus you'd give me the pen.
Liraglutide.
Which didn't really work. It was a bit shit. And I knew that you had some semaglutide and then you sent it to me. But one thing I noticed from the semaglutide is that it helped with not just cravings, but then mentally not thinking about food. And when I say that, I mean as in not binging. And it's a bit more than just cravings, if you know what I mean by that. From someone who's had bulimia since they were 15, I would get to a point where I would just want food and binge. But then I wouldn't get that anymore from semaglutide, where it's like it completely took over me sometimes. The food, like you just want food and food and food, to the point where you just purge. But obviously it's not just weight loss, is it? It's not just, restricting your calories because of the semaglutide. It's more than that. It's helping you mentally.
Well, it's the control. That's what it's been like. Every single person said about, I feel so in control. And with bulimia, you're so out of control. It's disordered eating. Disordered eating is by nature someone being out of control.
It's weird when you say that because I am someone who likes to be in control, as you know, and I find myself sometimes being consumed by the thoughts. I would be so consumed by the food, the thoughts of food, and I always like to be in control of everything, and I always find myself somehow then getting, I don't know, almost drawn back into that mindset. But since I've took semaglutide, I haven't been consumed by my own thoughts, because I normally will always somehow end up back in that place. I'll start training again and eating right again and going to the gym and even like with clients and stuff like that, and it's like, but I'll somehow in some sort of situation end up being back in that place. Does that make sense? Like if I'm normally for me it's like events that are consumed around food, or like nights in, or takeaways, or even if I'm really down, what I've actually realised is I'm a very emotionally sensitive person when it comes to food. So like if I'm really upset or someone's really pissed me off, I will then want to just go and get loads of shit and just binge. But even now when I am upset, especially everything that's been going on the last few weeks, I haven't once had any of those thoughts. I haven't once thought I'm just going to go and spend loads of money on food and do something like that. So it's that I think that's what shocked me the most about semaglutide, is because it's really helped me, because I've been an emotional wreck the last few weeks in terms of moving to Kuwait and all the stress and things not going right and the hurdles, this, that and the other. Normally I would try and control things like that with food, or try and, I don't know what the word is for it, relieve myself with food. You know what I mean by that?
It's people's coping mechanism.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
And a big part of that is it's the same with drugs, with alcohol,
It's
anything.
an escapism. It's a way of.
Well, a lot of it's a dopamine release you get from
Well,
food.
well,
So
yeah.
you're chasing dopamine. I tend to train. That's my go-to.
Mine's not that.
But then I've still been on food. We've had arguments. Fucking time the
Yeah.
car park down there.
I know.
After we've had an argument and nailed like chocolate bars and shit. Honestly.
I know.
In that old car park at the back. I remember doing it and looking up at the house and you were up here. But I didn't do that last year. Everything that happened last year. I had to break up midway through prep, everything. And I didn't. Yeah. And this was what I was saying on the other podcast. Like, it was mad because you saw me 2019. You saw at the end of prep. Like,
you were a mess.
Yeah, on the line on the mattress here, and I was just like about to die. And it probably was a massive hyperglycemia.
That is the worst I've ever seen you with food. Was the show? Was it PTA Manchester?
PTA Manchester.
It was PTA Manchester. It was your first show. First time I'd ever seen you compete or ever been with anyone that's competed. So it was a massive deal. We went to the All You Can Eat in Manchester. I can't remember the name of it. Cosmos. It was amazing, to be fair. And you absolutely stuffed yourself so bad that you got into the driver's seat of your car going hyper, which was how it looked, and couldn't really speak. You were just a mess, sweating and all. It was just insane. And then your dad was like, "Get out of the car."
Was he?
Yeah, get out of the car. Yeah, it was like, we were saying like, "Get out of the car," because you were a mess.
I don't remember that. That's probably because I was getting ridiculous at hyperglycemia.
Yeah, you weren't fit to drive that car. You weren't fit, and then you came up. Yeah, you were bad. You mean your mum was stood there? Yeah, you weren't. You were a mess. I've never seen anyone. I mean, I've seen you go hypo, and I've seen you go hyper. I've seen you go hypo in Barcelona.
No, it was hyper. That was because I was on cakes and donuts. So I remember that because my heart was pounding, and I remember I had to go off the beach, and I was lying in the sun. The security guard thought I was a drunk man. He said, "No, mate, I'm just about to die because I've had like 20 cakes and donuts all day."
The point is, you binged that hard on the food that you were lying on the mattress on the floor in this room, and you were almost bringing it up. It was disgusting, and I've never seen that. I've seen you in some bad states of food, but that was the worst for me.
What was crazy is I didn't do that last year. I went leaner than I've ever been. Did 7 shows in 7 weeks, and after one show I did that. Do you know what? After the last one,
it's a very powerful thing. It's a very amazing thing.
It's the control. You don't get the food focus, and I didn't have that food focus building up, so I didn't have the need to then go and binge.
Yeah.
Whereas like I've developed a lot of resilience from the preps, from jail, from like being overweight, being bullied, like just adversity my entire life. I've developed a lot of mental fortitude. So I can dig in and I can focus on that goal, I can do it. But then quite clearly it's like a pressure cooker that just the lid pops off as soon as the prep's done. But then this time it was more after the last show, I wanted to then enjoy some food.
Yeah. Because
it had been a long slog and I'd done these 2 months of like fish and vegetables. And as soon as my allergies kicked up, I was like, all right, I guess that's the end of it then. Dead objectively, no emotion. It's like, well, I would like to have some more food, but I can't breathe. I've got to keep spinning an hour. And I could feel it. My throat was closed up more and more as I was going towards spin. Yeah. Spent a few days back on fish and vegetables, and then I slowly worked my calories up. The only reason I've gained a bit of fat and not dieted back off is because I'm actually waiting till the start of March so I can do a diet. It's literally the only reason. I've been waiting to diet for like 2 months. Yeah. Because I can happily diet. My body's happy to diet. Whereas 2019 it took me until January just to stop craving ridiculously. For like 4 months. Whereas this time
have you had any cravings on it? Or have you been taking semaglutide?
It's the healthiest relationship I've ever had with food. Because bear in mind, I had binge eating disorder. So I used to rummage around the cupboard, I was binge off loads of stuff. And I've just not done that. Not post-show, not during show, not off-season, not at Christmas. Yeah. All of them, I went into all those things. I enjoyed food at Christmas, I enjoyed some food post-show, but I was in control of that. Yeah. And I think people who are always in control because their genetics, in terms of their hunger signals, their appetite in general, even the size of their stomach, all these things will, if they don't struggle, and they're people like force feeding themselves in the off season, I've never had to force feed myself because my stomach is just not big enough. Sorry, it's too big, and it can take a lot of food. Yeah. So I have to have 4 bigger meals per day to try and satisfy me in a fast. That always works year round. So I have to do it all year. Until my food gets really high, when I was pushing it up. This year I've not pushed it up, and I was having a 5th meal. For most people, they won't be able to get that more volume in, especially with the vegetables and stuff, over 4 meals. Your
meals are huge, to be fair.
Yeah, but that's because I've got a massive appetite, a massive stomach, but then I've curved all of that with the semaglutide. So now I can make objective decisions with my food. Yeah. I'm not being controlled by something else.
I think that's the difference, isn't it? You're not being controlled by it.
Yeah, and this is why it's trying to actually explain if you're someone who's never really been that hungry, you're having to force feed yourself, you're going, why would people take this? Well, mate, you don't understand what it's like to crave, to have intrusive thoughts, to binge on food, to be overweight, to have an appetite that's never satisfied, and over time of then being starving, it breaks you.
Yeah.
And then if someone's been like you have in the past, where bodybuilders get in bulimia all the time, I mean,
We know someone.
yeah, well, I know one person.
Well, we know someone.
One of the lads actually admitted it to me himself. But he's just one of many, and that was just because we're in a dead honest conversation midway training, and he was actually being really honest about the fact how he'd been.
Like fair enough to him. Maybe he's being honest about it.
Really honest about how he'd been at the end of preps, some of the stuff he's taken, his mindset, his eating and stuff like that, and then we obviously know what happened, and then that when you actually kind of look at it, you go, do you know what? This is really distressing.
Yeah. That
someone has then pushed so hard into a diet, mentally broken, because you can go, oh, you suck it up and be tough. Mate, fuck off. Everyone breaks. And it's like, well, we can then stop people getting to breaking point, which is mentally really damaging. Aside from the physical, mentally really impactful. Mm-hmm. We can stop that because the food focus doesn't build up. Then we don't have that repercussion afterwards. Because if someone binges to the point where they want to be sick and then they go and be sick, especially with bodybuilders doing that, because the cookies and the fucking slabs of biscuits and all the stupid stuff, and they'll go and have all you can eat and have burgers and have loads of food after a show to the point where they actually feel like they want to throw up. Some of them then throw up, and that's the start of bulimia. That's literally how easy it is, because they are going to binge. Whereas the normal person, I mean, how did yours start? Do you even know?
I don't really remember how it started at all. No, I remember feeling the pressure as a kid to look a certain way, but then when I was growing up in the 90s, it was always about, you know, Kate Moss and Naomi Campbell. It was always, you know, thin is beautiful, you know. And
Thigh gap.
Yeah, it wasn't thigh gap area. It was because now it's actually quite refreshing that the kids that are growing up now, the kids that are 15, 16, 17, they're actually in the gym. I wasn't in the gym then. It wasn't really a fitness thing back in the 90s, really, for kids. But it's all about getting that thick look, being athletic. All the girls want big glutes or big legs. Everyone wants to be, you know, fit and healthy, and, you know, social media, TikTok and Facebook, Instagram, it's all, you know, fitness workouts, and it's just completely boomed. And I think that has then drove girls, even men, everyone in society to kind of look a certain way in terms of just being more athletic. But it wasn't like that. We didn't really have social media when I was a kid. It was just magazines. It was magazines. And in the magazines that I had as a kid was like fashion magazines, girl magazines, and it was all, everyone was really thin. And I remember looking at them thinking, I wanted to be like that. Why wasn't I like that? And I think a few things happened, and I was a kind of overweight as a kid, not massively, but yeah, I remember, I think we spoke about it last night, I lost my weight over one summer because I didn't eat at all. It was anorexia first, in the first year, I think, and then maybe I put on a little bit of weight, and then, but I remember Googling, like, I mean, it's weird, because people Google all kinds of weird shit. You know, you could go into that in the, you know, the dark world, but I remember Googling like how to make myself sick. That was 15.
Did you end up on forums with people?
Forums. It was dark forums. It was like how to make myself sick. You know, what kind of diet pills can I get? You know, pills. You know, like, I don't know, the one like T5s. It was T5s and ephedrine back then. I was taking ephedrine at 15.
I mean, the worrying thing that I have, which is a valid point too, with semaglutide, is the fact it can enable people to really starve themselves in a better way. But then,
I wouldn't say starve themselves.
Well, you could take loads and you could really starve yourself if that's your goal.
You make yourself really sick.
Yeah, and then if you take too much, you'll throw up. But then if someone just generally wanted to stop eating, it would make the process easier. However, we don't then take away the drug and say, no, it's really bad, people could abuse it. People abuse everything. People abuse absolutely everything. What we need to do is educate people to properly, which is the conversation we're having here. Saying actually how we can benefit the people coming out of an eating disorder or having eating disorders, not just obese people, which is FDA approved for, the fact that it's then being brought as a diabetes medication to help people drop weight and reverse type 2 diabetes. And it has a positive impact on blood sugar and lots of things like this. But aside from that, like, anything will help those people, but nothing really helps people with eating disorders, as far as we know, as far as I know. I mean,
there is medication you can have if you're bulimic or anorexic that will help with your cognitive function. I was never given that. I mean, I did go to clinics and stuff and see, you know, psychotherapist and all that, when all that went on, because my mum and dad used to take me and wait for me in the meetings, but I was never given any medication. It was always CBT, it was always, you know, therapy that way, but it never really worked. It's been going on and off for 15 years, well, over 15 years now. I can manage it, I've managed it really well, you know, I've become a fitness professional, but, you know, other people that have got that disorder will know that it's something that you'll live with for the rest of your life, because it's your relationship with food. And that's why, you know, keeping fit and managing your diet healthily and, you know, exercising and all that stuff will keep you sane, you know, keeping you on track. It'll be fine. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying then. We train of thought now.
Well, the fact that, for me, it's the idea that the intrusive thoughts is a massive thing. How can we stop the intrusive thoughts? Because you're saying there's other medications, there's cognitive behavioural therapy. Yeah. But then whether that's impactful enough, because I feel in control.
Therapy does not work. I've had different types of therapy. I've had body dysmorphic therapy. I've had cognitive behavioural therapy for eating disorders, and I've had bereavement therapy, and none of them have worked. It doesn't really work for me. Obviously, using the semaglutide in terms of helping me with bulimia, I haven't took it for bulimia specifically because I'm actually in a really good place. But what it's done is completely took that being consumed by food. It's stopped me from even getting to that point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because this is what I started to come out. I mean, it was 2020 when I started trying to find liraglutide first. I'd missed the stuff with skinny pens because it wasn't really marketed to me. Lucy brought it to me in, I don't even know, like 2017. Well, like the skinny pens, I'm like, you need to sort your diet and exercise out. Well, I've now retracted that and I've changed my stance because I've no more. And actually then the mad thing is that Lucy now takes it. And I've then been the one like trying to explain to people, like, you really need to try this stuff because it's changed the way people diet. And it's what I said to my brother before. For me, it's no different than if I've got a long day and I'm going to have a coffee to try and focus a bit more, I don't see this as any difference at this point because I would argue that both of them are as sort of safe as each other. Yes, they can be abused. Yes, they can have negative impacts. But used correctly, the safety the safety profile is actually excellent. Yeah. Like of both. And having used semaglutide now for 2 years, well, all of them in semaglutide for a year and a half. I was trying to find them in 2020 because I'd watched some information about them. I was like, I need to try this stuff because, like everything else, I've got to try it and make my own opinion before I can't just read something and go, oh, I've made up my mind. So I was saying, well, you shouldn't like this guy, he's a dick. So I need to go meet that guy to find out if he's a dick. That's your opinion, which I'm going to go in with because I trust you. But I need to try it myself to form my proper opinion. I think we should all do that and be open-minded. Yeah. So I heard it from someone I trust who's actually saying positively, and then I went and tried it, and I was like, oh my God, I need to talk about it.
It is a game changer. It is. Yeah. It's probably the best thing I've ever used in terms of trying to lose weight because believe you me, as a woman, I have tried everything, probably every diet you can think of, every other drug that you can get legally, pills, you know, herb things you can buy from the chemist, boots, whatever, online, offline. That is the best thing I've ever used.
Yeah, because the thing is that people saying it's a fat burner. It's like, no, because the whole point is we can take clenbuterol, something like that, burn an extra couple hundred calories per day at best, but you can eat a couple hundred calories in 5 seconds. Yeah. Have a bite of a donut. There you go. Yeah. Like a big bite. You just literally all those calories are now consumed. But if we can stop eating that bite of the donut and then stop what the bite of that donut would then do.
You wouldn't even want to eat the donut just by looking at the donut. Yeah. That's the difference between having it and not having it. If someone didn't have it and had a bad relationship with food, they could potentially be consumed of, I need to eat that donut because it's right there and I just can't leave it alone. You know what it's like yourself when you bought stuff and put it in the cupboard and you know it's there, so you just, I've got to have it, I've got to have it. But now you can have stuff in your cupboard, or you could leave that donut for a week and you wouldn't want it. You just wouldn't be bothered, would you?
I mean, for me, it was the fact that, like I said, Becky used to go mad at me for going out in the middle of the night, going down and eating out of Amelia's cupboard. Because Amelia used to have a cupboard full of stuff. But I used to...
Done that to me. You've ate my stuff in the cupboard. In my night, cupboard. Usually. Yeah, it is in the night. And I don't... You've ate my protein bars in the night.
Yeah, but now it's a choice. Where before it was like an urge.
It's almost like it's not foggy anymore when you can, like, your thoughts about food. You can see clearly, you can make the right decisions for yourself.
Well, it's like we said, you know, you could argue that every single person to a bodybuilding show is in a very vulnerable state with food.
Well, yeah, she's been deprived for 12 to 20 weeks.
Yeah, I would be really interested to speak to the woman who runs a cookie dealer stand and say, like, what? Do you worry about the people when they come to you? Because, like, they're literally like drug addicts, like, twitching.
Yeah.
And I was watching people going, wow, this is so bad. Because I was so chilled. And obviously I was on my own, so I was kind of people watching a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I was just watching going, this is fucking really bad. Because I would normally be like that, but I'm just going, yo, those cookies look nice. And I know what they taste like and I still enjoy the flavour.
Yeah.
But I'm then going, but it'll fuck my stomach up and I'll set my allergies off. I'll just leave them. Whereas everyone else, I saw people crying because they sold out. And they
Are you
came in.
kidding me?
I am not kidding you. And I was
They
like,
cried because the cookie woman had sold out.
yeah. And I was like, whoa,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
really bad. But then,
It's not like crack cocaine or something. Like, why would the...
because that's how
It's
bad their emotions
insane.
are.
Like, it's just a cookie. Go to Tesco.
But it's, I mean, sorry, cookie deal. I think personally the cookies are a little bit overrated. To be fair,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, because I go there every time I placed at Fitex.
No, I can imagine they're absolutely amazing when it's full of sugar and fat and you've not had anything for 12 weeks. But I wouldn't stand there and cry.
But I think that's part of it because people are so the taste buds are so heightened.
Yeah, it is. That is exactly what it is.
But then they get like everything tastes amazing on prep,
Yeah.
and it's different because you're having the same sorts of foods. I had the same response to normal, so my food was no more enticing then than it is now. When now I can have it, it's off season, whereas normally you see a big shift.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I was just flat all the way across.
Yeah.
I've got. I can still enjoy the food. I like to enjoy food once a week, and got food and a really healthy and shared experience that we've done a few times lately.
Yeah.
Go out for the experience, have a conversation. It's really nice to do that, and we're enjoying it around the
It's
food.
like you can take it or leave it. That's probably
Yeah.
the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You can take it or leave it. You're not really that bothered.
Yeah. So you're.
Whereas before it would be everything would just revolve around food, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or goodies or as much as you could eat.
I suppose it's the same as there's people that drink on a night out to enhance it.
Yeah.
There's people that go out on a night out to drink. A lot of people would go for like want to go out for food because they want to eat those foods. They want to binge.
I actually haven't seen you eat a carvery since we've reconnected, but it'd be actually quite interesting to go and go and have a carvery to see the difference in what we have done versus what we would do now.
I was embarrassed with some of them plates. When I walk around the table going, this is about 20 kilos. It's well like I'm getting a bicep
some
pump.
really big plates, especially after legs on a Sunday. But now I think it would be really mine would be really modest.
I did enjoy some food actually.
Because I get really full now anyway. I get really full and I'm full for longer. And I've messaged you a few times just because I feel it's like it's almost not digesting. But when I've actually read up about it, it says that it actually slows your digestion down.
It slows gastric emptying,
yes,
so it sits in your stomach.
yeah, so it sits in my stomach for longer.
Which means that if we're on a diet, then our food is going to sit there longer. We are more satisfied. Like I was going, oh my god, that fish and vegetables was actually really nice. Just with a little bit of that garlic seasoning and some salt.
Well, I think that's something that I've noticed because normally with me anyway, just day to day when I eat things, whatever it may be, I'm hungry within. I can eat a meal and within an hour or 45 minutes, I'm like, that's just gone straight through me. I'm not full anymore. I want something else, and it's constant. Just like I'm thinking about the next meal all the time. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you're training, obviously your appetite's a little bit higher. But now it's just eat a meal, feel satisfied, feel fuller for longer, right? Just get on with my day, and then you'll get to a certain point in the day where you're like, right, okay, I should really have another meal now.
Yeah, and that's why I noticed where you're going, shit, it's a bit like, I'm feeling that mild hunger.
Especially at the beginning, it was definitely like, it's kind of died off a little bit. It's still kind of, baseline the same, but especially being really new to it, being extremely sensitive, that you could literally go all day without thinking about food, where you wouldn't even, you'd like, oh my god, it's been like 15 hours and I've not had a meal, which is something that you would have to manage, obviously.
Well, that's why I've said to people on the diet, and it's like, be careful you don't diet too hard, because you actually have the ability
Well, that's
to
why you have to manage your dosage, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also like, we have to then come back to the point of, yes, I understand that some people won't understand this, they've never felt like this, and they could just turn around and go, just diet hard and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But the impact that has over time, like some of our clients, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you're going to put someone in a deficit for 18 months, 24 months to try and get their fat off. They've got like 50 kilos to lose. They're not going to lose it.
Or my client who was on 800 calories and on cleanse. So, let's not go down that road. Let's just, do it sensibly.
Yeah, whereas you could have had her on a little bit more calories and for a long term.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you keep crashing it. But where'd you go? And it's such a long-term process. But then you could, again, people are focusing on the bodybuilding side of things, saying should be dieting harder, and they're sort of a bit narrow-minded, as we always know. But the normal person is not a bodybuilder. They're not hard, and they're not got that mental fortitude. They just want to lose weight, but then most of those are way more overweight, so they've got a bigger journey to go, and they're not so prepared. So the ability to implement something like a semaglutide and some diet and exercise and everything else with it as a tool used correctly, dosed correctly, to make this 24-month journey now manageable.
Yeah.
Because it's not. I've had guys lost 20 kilos and then they get to like 25 to 30 kilo mark in like 6 months, and then they kind of stall and they start to struggle because they've been dieting for 6 months.
Yeah.
And they haven't really had any enjoyment. They need a break.
Yeah, they do.
But they don't need much of a break if we give them that. So you can still give them the diet breaks intelligently. But then we go, okay, bit of a diet break, and then we go again, and they're ready to go again. And they've not gained weight back, they stay steady. And you just slowly start bringing it down to the point where it's manageable.
Yeah.
And then from my experience now, that's why I wanted to trial it through Christmas, through this off season, and just actually see, can I hold my weight? And yeah, because I would have dieted again. I should have dieted in January really, and then just like been leaner again. Should have still like 4 weeks to diet harder, because I can literally diet whenever I want now. I feel ready to. My body's not under stress, and just to see like how's my weight? Is it stabilised? Does it feel flat? And I feel so much better. Like, because like you said, then you're not thinking about your next meal. You're not thinking about being hungry. You're not having to stop to go and get the meal. So if I've now got like 5 hours of solid work to do, I can focus on my 5 hours of work.
I'm not thinking about food.
And not thinking about the food. Which is, you could say, well, that's not necessarily a good thing. It is when you're overconsumed with it.
It is when it's a problem, when it's a mental problem. It isn't for people who are just like generically fine with food. It's for mainly people who really struggle mentally with food, who just can seem to be consumed. I mean, I've had loads of clients that just, you know, cravings that are just out of control, or just for some reason in a bad routine where no matter what they're doing throughout their day-to-day routine, just can't stop thinking about the next food, the next meal or the next snack, or what they're having for tea, or just the takeaways that they're having. It's just, you know, it's relatable, isn't it?
Yeah, and food is highly addictive. Like we've seen that.
There you go. It is an addiction. Food can be an addiction, and this is helping the addiction side of food. Not necessarily, I just want to lose some weight, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, saying, well, why don't you just fucking diet harder? And
it's not just about shedding a few pounds, though, is it? It's about...
Yeah, but you could say the same as, well, why don't you just stop smoking? Why don't you just stop taking drugs?
But it's not as easy as that.
Yeah, and if we could utilise something that helps someone come off drugs, people are vaping to come off smoking.
Yeah.
And there's another part of bodybuilding which I've really noticed last year. People are vaping at shows, especially competitors, because nicotine is an appetite suppressant. So then, if you're going to turn around and say, well, why would we take semaglutide, but you're taking anything else to suppress your appetite?
Well, that's a good point.
Your point is completely void, because you're already suppressing your appetite with something else. So any point you make is it's same with fat burners. If you're saying it's a stupid comment of why can't someone diet harder, but then you're taking fat burners, your point is void because you're taking fat burners. If you're not only just doing cardio and food, eating anything else, it's a ridiculous point, because I will just counter that with clenbuterol is way worse in terms of safety profile. So is your himbine, so is ephedrine, so is there's a lot of
the orange powder one.
5-amino-1-MQ. No, 5-amino-1-MQ is actually
and the yellow one.
DMP.
I only know about the colours.
Yeah. So, but then I mean, all these are very toxic to your body. And then you've got a lot of antidepressants, which again work through most of the serotonin pathway in terms of how they suppress appetite. So we see that when people sometimes take antidepressants, their appetite goes down. So if you're going to hijack that pathway to suppress your appetite, all of these things are way worse than taking semaglutide, which you can, especially if it was liraglutide, it's a daily one. You could take that on non-training days if your calories are lower, and then not take it the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So that would actually be a really good place for people, especially when they're in the off season, but still having lower calories on non-training days and going, this is really hard. It's like, well, the same as you'd use caffeine or anything if it's caffeine. If it's a long day.
Caffeine.
Same as you use that if it's a long day. Well, why wouldn't we utilise this when the thing we're suffering with is not necessarily tiredness, it's a high appetite. And you can use it for one day. You don't have to use it the next day. The other ones will screw up your body a lot more.
Yeah.
And have much more of an impact. And that's just what I'm trying to get across to people. You don't understand how important these GLP-1 receptor agonist medications can be. and obviously you've now tried it, I've tried it, you've seen how it's essentially, we'll say, cured your bulimia for now. It's got it massively under control in a way you couldn't.
I won't say it's cured. Well, you probably, well, I don't know what the right word is for that. I won't say cured, but
You could say it's cured whilst taking
I'm in
it.
control of it.
Yeah.
I was in control of it anyway. It's just that it's stopped me from getting into any situations that would then lead to that. So it's completely eliminated any avenues that I would put myself through.
Yeah, and I suppose some people would counter that and say, well, when you stop taking it, you may get the bulimia back. Fair point. But when I stop taking my thyroid medication, I'll end up with a low thyroid output. When I stop taking testosterone, I'll end up with a low testosterone output. And the point is what? But then, and this is what they're sort of saying, like it means something. It's like you're just literally making words out of your mouth, making noise.
Yeah.
The fact that you're saying, well, yeah, whilst taking it. But if something that can be taken in a correct dosage for a long term, then
what's the problem?
Yeah, what's the problem? It's healthier to take it than have intrusive thoughts and end up binging.
Yeah.
It's healthier to take it than be obese. So then, what's the trade-off? Same as like, well, I could not take my thyroid medication. I'm not going to die, but I'm way healthier by taking it because I have an underactive thyroid, and that's a genetic trait that I have to fight. And we're now starting to see that maybe there's other aspects of people's genetics in terms of appetite and the satiety in terms of obviously you have the ghrelin and leptin that sense if you're trigger hunger or trigger fullness. All of this whole system and your cravings and the addiction to food and everything else, it can now potentially be affected by genetics. And then we're seeing it be controlled by medication, just like my underactive thyroid is. It's just that this is a newer part of our body that we're only just starting to learn about and only just starting to control. Because when I was a kid, my mum was in bed after dropping us off at school every single day. She'd go to bed, she'd be exhausted for all the time, hair was falling out, everything. She thought she was like really ill. She had a low thyroid, like a rock bottom thyroid output. And then when I came to get diagnosed 20 years later, it was straight away. Went to the doctor, said I think I've got low thyroid, he tested it, we got medication like 2 days later. For my mum, it was months, they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Because at that time they didn't. Well, maybe at this time, we're starting to learn new things. 10 years' time, it's commonplace. I think faster than that.
Yeah.
Prescribing semaglutide and a GLP-1 receptor agonist will be commonplace a lot more because it's already starting to explode. So
It's in the media. I send you articles all the time about who's taking it and benefits of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, because semaglutide has had a lot of marketing behind it for a start. But then it's obviously people like the Kardashians have taken it.
Actors have taken it. Famous singers have taken it.
To the point where I'm having consultations with people in America and Australia and they're saying it's sold out everywhere, which is insane. It's sold out.
In fact, I read that the other day actually. There's a shortage in the UK even, I heard, as well.
But then the price is going up. Even on the black market, the price is going to be taking the piss. Because it works. I mean, on the positive side of, we know it works then. That literally proves that it works. I mean, and to close this topic before we move on is, some people will then reference this ridiculous study where they moved people up to 2.6 milligrams and they said that all of them, well, I think it was the majority of them gained weight back afterwards. I don't care. A load of obese people were given a load of obese people that obviously know how to overeat. They're obese. So you've taken a load of people who can't lose weight. You've given them a really, really effective appetite suppressant, which has therefore made them lose weight because they're eating less food. You've then taken that away, and they've continued to go back to overeating, which is what they did before, and then gain the weight back 2 years later.
Yeah.
It's, again, an irrelevant study because it makes 0 point to us.
It's almost like you can say, oh, someone got lipo, but then they basically gained weight again. It's like, well, if you continue to eat food, then you eventually, or overeat, should I say, then yeah, you would put that weight back on. It's not like a magic thing that makes it vanish forever. Semaglutide is not like that either, is it? Obviously, if you stop taking it or, you don't do what you're meant to, then yeah, you will.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, this medication is a better analogy would be what's it called? A gastric band or bypass. Yeah. Because you could have a gastric band, you could have a gastric bypass, but if you continue to eat shit, your stomach will enlarge. Yeah. And you'll like overcome it. Yeah. So you can still break that, and you can still eat food on semaglutide if you really wanted to. You can still eat, but then it's just the fact that for most people it helps. But you don't have to then go and have an operation, which is you're unable to reverse as well, apart from if you just stuff your face and overcame it. But then this is the whole point. It was designed to be a long-term medication. And potentially it will need to be adapted slightly further as we know more. Yeah. But right now we don't. There's this loose connection with thyroid cancer. We don't know. The data isn't there. So I personally, based on my knowledge experience, don't think that there's a strong connection for that. Because at the same time, being obese is still worse. Having eating disorders is still worse. So you're still way healthier by taking the medication than not. So it's still worse. So then, again, it's your choice. I'd rather take a medication and potentially risk long-term implications of the medication than things that we know of. Obesity causes increased mortality of every single cause, without fail, without question. That is a fact. So if you're obese or you're having eating disorders and you're slowly getting bigger, which is what we're seeing with a lot of people, it's getting older, get bigger and bigger and bigger, slow increase every year, you're still healthier than to take semaglutide. Which is the end of that bit of the conversation. That is a great place to end.